Begin with Joe Haggerty. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Butchie, just curious that early session group, is that kind of what you envision for opening night? And, just what over the course of the week here at camp, has that changed much from what you kind of anticipated going into training camp, what it was going to be?
We did, Hags, want to get down to more of what our group would look like, work with, 4 lines or 8D, and we sprinkled a couple extra forwards in because that's typically what our roster looks like. So yes, but I think Vakanainen should be in that conversation the way he's played, but I didn't want to practice with 9D. So he was the odd man out. Other guys have a little more seniority, but certainly the forward group, I don't think there's anybody left off. McKegg is a bit of an unknown to us, Hags, because with no exhibition games, that really hurts guys like that have come from another organization. They're competing for a spot. Smith has done that, but obviously he's a proven commodity in this league, and we've slotted him in where we feel he fits. But so a couple guys get hurt a little bit by no exhibition games. So that was the purpose behind it. Tomorrow we're going to meet here and obviously discuss some things, and it's getting close to the roster, sort of finality. But we're thinking of scrimmaging tomorrow. So again, we'd get a kind of a last look at some of those guys that maybe weren't in that first group.
Thank you, Joe. We'll go next to Steve Conroy.
Hey, Bruce. Normally in a normal year, you with some of your top young prospects like Frederick or a Vakanainen, if they're not going to be in the lineup, you'd want them in Providence. But now you've got this taxi squad here. What is your philosophy going forward with this taxi squad, and will you keep those young guys in that?
Well, there's probably about 3 different kind of prongs, I guess, to answer that question. The first one is salary cap considerations, which, goes upstairs. So, Donnie will discuss that. If there's a way to help yourself there, and by moving a guy to the taxi squad and not on your roster, or vice versa, whatever the case may be, right? So that's number one. I guess not number one. Number one is, you get to who's your lineup? What does it look like? Who deserves to play? And then you go from there. Consider the salary cap. Consider having the guys nearby, because Providence isn't starting till early February. So you got a lapse here of 3 to 4 weeks. So will that affect who we put on the taxi squad? Because then they stay active with us. And once you go to Providence, a consideration also down the road is if they're down there playing and it's a young guy. For example, if you said you used Frederick, so if he's not playing in our lineup, of course he's better served playing in Providence, playing regular, growing his game. But if he's your first call up, and then he has to go from Rhode Island to Massachusetts and there's quarantine issues, then how does that play out? So there's a little bit more than meets the eye when it comes to those decisions. You may have to sacrifice guys' development playing versus being here and practicing with NHL players. And those are decisions we have to make. How easy is it going to be for us to get him from Providence to here? If he's the guy that deserves to be the call-up and you want to keep him playing. So there's a lot of that goes into it this year for us. And we're going to go through some of that actually right after this call. And Donnie will have a better idea on, the hows and whys through the NHL directives and rules that, why we may do things a certain way that typically we might not. So I'll have some of those answers probably better off for you tomorrow. But there will be some challenges with those decisions. And there'll be some guys maybe left off the taxi squad that they feel they probably should be honored as well. So there'll be some decisions there and sort of dealing with each of the personalities to make sure they understand our decision.
And I'm sorry if I missed this somewhere along the way, but is there an opening date for Providence's camp?
I want to say the first week of February. I'll say the 6th. They're opening of their camp. Sorry, that's their season. I would assume that they would have. See, I don't know if they've built in exhibition games. You know what? I'm going to get my trusty man Travis on that here to my right, and he'll hopefully he'll have some dates for it, because I don't know when their camp opens, but I know they're not leaving here on Wednesday, say, when we get on a plane and go to Jersey, and they'd start Thursday like they have in the past. There's a lapse in there. I just don't know exactly how much.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's around the 25th, but we'll look into that.
Okay.
Next, we'll go to Fluto Shinzawa.
Bruce, 2 questions first. Brad had to leave early. How is he doing?
He went and got treatment. I saw him after. He will be. We're planning on scrimmage tomorrow. He'll be I guess a game time's the wrong thing, but a morning time decision on how he feels. So obviously not serious, but I mean, if he misses a day when he feels he should be out there, then obviously it's something we'll keep an eye on.
Okay. And then on the kill, who do you have in mind to kill on Brandon's left side at this point?
Well, right now we've got 3 righties that we've certainly Brandon and Kevin Miller healthy will be the top right guys over the boards. That'll conserve a little bit of Charlie's wear and tear. And then on the left side, Lozon definitely needs to kill if he's going to be the lineup every night. And then from there, if it's Zaboral and Grizz, Zaboral hasn't done a lot of penalty killing for us. Grizz is kind of that guy that killed if Z was the guy taking the penalty, for example, over the years. So Grizz can certainly do it. Not going to be similar to a long type of penalty killer in terms of having a long stick and eating pucks. So that's a situation where Joe will have to kind of manage the kill, and maybe the structure changes a little bit if that happens a lot with Grizz, going over the boards. And I think the other guys like to be aggressive, so I don't think it'd be a huge change for Fluto to be just a little more aggressive. It just means the forwards have to be in sync with the D. And after years of having a certain structure, there might be a little bit of adjustment period there. But we have done it in the past, and that'll be something we discuss. But that's how we'll line up originally. If Johnny Moore's in there, he will kill. He's always killed. He's a good penalty killer on the left side, so that's one of the assets Johnny brings.
Thank you, Fluto. We'll go next to Kevin Dupont.
Just some goalie stuff, if you could. This sort of outgrowth of what Steve was asking in terms of numbers. You will carry 3 goaltenders. Is that the mandate? Am I wrong about that?
Well, you have to have a goalie on your taxi squad.
Okay.
I guess teams could carry 3 on their roster if they had the cap space, roster space. If you carry 3 on your roster, do you need to have 1 on your taxi? You know what I mean? Does that make you? Does that count as basically a taxi squad? I'd like to think it would, but I don't know. And most teams wouldn't carry 3 unless they're obviously worried about risking a guy on waivers, right? So those are probably the exception, not the rule. But we will definitely have a guy in our taxi squad, and we'll have 2 on our roster. We will not be carrying 3 on our roster.
Okay. And given this is an unusual camp, of course, do you think your goaltenders have had enough work? You feel confident about that aspect? And how do you plan to use? I assume it's going to be Tuukka and Jaro to start here. How do you plan to use them the first 3 games?
Well, I mean, have they had enough work? I think Tuukka's been here coming in earlier in December. So I've seen it with my own eyes. He's been on the ice here. So I assume he'll be ready to go getting his workload. Would everybody like a few more exhibition games against Live? Absolutely, to be, better prepared. But, that everyone's in the same boat around the league. So, and then Jaro, I didn't see on the ice, obviously. Now he could have been back home. I mean, he was, but how much he was there, I don't know. So if I had to guess, he may be a little bit behind Tuukka, but Jaro's a pro, so I trust him. He'll get ready. He'll get his time in here. We're okay the first stretch of games, Kevin, in terms of there's no back-to-backs early. You've got a Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, I believe. So they're spread out. So if Jaro didn't feel he was where he needed to be, we wouldn't have to use him as much. But I would suspect Jaro will be in the net by Monday in Long Island. If he tells me he's ready to go and he's up to speed, then that would probably be, Tuukka Jaro or Tuukka Jaro Tuukka. You know what I mean? There's 2 of us who would go to Tuukka on this road trip. Whether it's a Saturday or Monday for Jaro would probably depend on feedback from both those goaltenders.
The cliche in baseball is pitchers are always ahead of hitters. You feel that true in hockey, that the goaltenders are head of the pack usually?
I don't know, because I think what happens early on is the rest of the team is not in defend mode. So I think attack mode is always ahead of defend mode on the ice, because in the summer hockey, that's all you're doing. You're making nice plays. You got lots of time and space to shoot. And people are reaching a lot defending, so you're not hitting guys. So I think that part of it, getting your bearing down and stopping and starting as opposed to circling is off early on. So I think the scores are a little bit higher early on, honestly, because of the rest of the group. Less about the goaltenders. I just think they're seeing higher quality shots early on, because guys haven't been defending much. But and I think sometimes in baseball that has to do with the cold weather. Guys are hitting in April. It's hard and their hands are freezing.
Thanks for all that.
Yeah.
We'll take our final question from Evan Marinofski.
Hey, Bruce. I'm sort of curious as to when it comes to the Zboril-Miller pairing, what are you sort of looking for out of a guy like Miller in his influence on a guy like Jacob Zboril?
Defend hard, take care of your own game. And when it comes to what he can do for Jacob is push him every day in practice to be the best pair. So build in the habits of a good pro. Jacob's been up and down a little bit, but he hasn't been here full time. So I think that's something we ask of all our experienced guys. He did it with Grizz. I said it before. Z did it with Carlo and McAvoy. Torrey did it a little bit with Carlo. So that's the ask for him with his partner. But other than that, we want him to be the consistent sort of defensive presence until Jacob sort of finds his way through the league, what he can do, what he can't do. And that's the ask of Kevin in that pair. With Jacob, we want him to play to his strength, move the puck, make a good first pass. He's really good at that. Get the puck into the forward's hand in good spots where they can get attacking and be part of that transition. And then build your defensive game in terms of your ability to compete, second effort on pucks, value the matchup you have that night. And we feel they can complement each other, but we'll see. I thought Jacob had a good practice today, battled down low hard. We had some 1-on-1, 2-on-2 drills, 3-on-3, and he was competing to keep the puck out of his net. And that's great for him, because I think the offensive part of his game is there for him, that the puck moving, he's got a good shot. It's just a matter of him being a little more assertive, getting up the ice. And sometimes as a young guy, you want to err on the side of caution. So we'll build that in as we go along.